Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. This is Kenyan Revolutionary coming to you for another session, another day. I hope you're doing well wherever you are. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I hope you spend it wisely. And I'm glad that you're here joining me today again for this session. Okay? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining, ladies and gentlemen. You know the first order of business. You know that, right? Okay, come on. Help me, help you, as they say. Let's get to the first order of business. For those of you who don't know, the first order of business is like, share, comment. Like the video to be specific. Like the video. And if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. Okay? If you haven't subscribe. If you're watching on X, join me on my YouTube. You can see my name there is Kenyan Revolutionary. And please go ahead and subscribe, all right? Okay, Mada Leo. There's so much going on, but I will try to bring it together as a one issue. Okay, good afternoon. I see Yaya 2K in the chat too. Karibu, please, Yaya 2K, go ahead and like the video, okay? And I hope you're subscribed already. All right. Like I said, the issue today, hi there. Karibu sana, gudia karibu. The clouds are being gathered for the looming crisis. The clouds are being gathered for the looming crisis. Now, this coming crisis is going to be a manufactured crisis. This is not going to be something that just happens, okay? It's something that we are going to be guided into by this political class. So let's get to it. The first news that's making waves in Kenya today is Mr. Linthuri surviving the impeachment, okay, from his cabinet position. This man was connected with the fake fertilizer scandal. It is said that he was part of it. There was strong evidence that he kind of came from him. But rumors were swirling around during the weekend, especially after this select committee of 11 committee members, 7 being from the Kenya Kwanza side, then 3 from Azimio, I believe, 1 from Jubilee. Okay? So anyway, the verdict is out. Amesafishwa kama pamba. He's still going to maintain his position, which is an outrage. Nothing but outrageous, okay? Now, let's hear what the MPs were saying on the floor. Because what was being said on the floor was just, let's just hear for it, okay? I want you to hear from the horse's mouth before I even give my commentary on this issue. Let's go ahead. Are you ready? Again, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe and like this video. Please like it. Let's go before we start digging in deep into what transpired. Let's hear Junet Mohammed, among others. Let's go.
Mr. Speaker, when I saw the constitution of the committee that was done by the majority leader, the 7 members from his side, I knew this is an exercise in futility. I knew the matter is dead on arrival. I could see the faces there. I know them. I have been in this corridor. I have been in this parliament long enough. I have operated in this corridor of this parliament. I knew this fait accompli. No report, nothing useful will come out of the committee. Thank you very much. I submit to the Speaker.
Kimani Chungwa.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I hear what the leader of the minority whip is saying. And it is true, Honorable Speaker, that if you have been here long enough, like the Honorable Junet Mohammed, and many others, including Robert Mbui, who was a member of this select committee, you would know then that impeachment of a cabinet secretary is not a matter that you vote and make a decision based on emotions. It's also not a matter that you decide based on whether you like somebody or you dislike them, or whether they answer your calls or reply to your texts, it is a matter that is based on the law. Honorable Speaker, the preliminary objections you had from the Honorable Otiende Amolo and the leader of minority speaks volumes to the issues that I was speaking to here last week. That one, we sought to impeach a cabinet secretary without duly considering the provisions of Article 152 of our Constitution, and especially so Article 152(7), and our standing orders from Standing Order 64 to 68. Honorable Speaker, you remember me advising the Honorable, the sponsor of the motion, the Honorable Wamboka, that if I were him, I would have been patient to allow conclusion, a logical conclusion of the inquiry by a committee of this House under the leadership of Honorable Mutunga, the Committee on Agriculture, that I would have been patient to allow investigative agencies to investigate and see if there's culpability on either the cabinet secretary or any other public officer before proposing an impeachment motion. Honorable Speaker, this report, as you said, it is good for academics. And it is important that all the 349 members of this House read that report so that they understand that impeaching a cabinet secretary can never be anchored on our feelings, our emotions, and whether we like somebody or dislike them. That we must ensure any time you want to impeach a cabinet secretary or a public official, it is based on what is provided for in law. Was there particularity in the allegations in that motion? I submitted the Honorable Speaker last week that the motion was laden with generalities and newspaper articles, and therefore would never have passed the test of time if you subjected it to the provisions of the Constitution, our own standing orders, and indeed precedents that has been set by courts of law. And I pointed out the famous Wambora cases, because Governor Wambora, Honorable Speaker, you remember, is one of the public officers that were impeached more than any other public officer. And therefore, I want to urge members, Honorable Speaker, that this becomes a lesson to learn for us as a House. If we propose motions to impeach cabinet secretaries for the sake of it, we will make this House extremely impotent. We will become impotent because we are acting at the whim of the moment. We are not patient to get substantive issues that can truly impeach a cabinet secretary. I look forward to a day, Honorable Speaker, that under the provision of our 2010 Constitution, we will offer meaningful oversight over cabinet secretaries, that we shall take our work seriously as a House, and we make sure, Honorable Speaker, that if we do an inquiry like we were doing, Honorable Speaker, we base all our deliberations on facts and not emotions, Honorable Speaker. I hope, Honorable Speaker, that this report, when we read, we will be able to internalize the reasons as to why those who say that all the allegations are not substantiated, the reasons and the reasoning behind it. Honorable Speaker, I know there are those who have expressed their minority opinion. And Honorable Speaker,
I will not bore you with the rest of this pinhead speech. Ichung'wah is a proper idiot. He's an imbecile. He's not a charlatan. He's a proper idiot. This corrupt elite political class of Kenya, one thing they are showing us, and one thing is clear right now, is that we cannot remove them through democratic means. They have to be forcefully removed through a popular revolution or through a military coup d'etat. And this military coup d'etat should be something similar to the ones we saw in the Sahel nations, in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. Enough is enough. These guys will continue playing games. Let me get a response from the guy who actually brought the motion to remove Linturi for his, culpability in this fake fertilizer saga. Let me just play a snippet of that senator. I believe it was senator or MP or something like that. Let me just play his response to this, because this is just beyond ridiculous. It is beyond ridiculous. This is a sham. Hold on.
That is, lakini 149 members constituencies tumepiga hesabu, hao wana represent 29 million Kenyans. Wamesema Mithika Linturi hafai kuwa waziri wa kilimo. That is a vote of no confidence. Hata Linturi afanye nini, bunge haina imani na yeye kama waziri wa kilimo. So for me, we won. Na mnajua kumekuwa na allegations hapa ya pesa. Dada yangu Omanyo huyu, she was offered money 5 million. Alikataa, akasema atasimama na Wakenya. Na hata akawaambia hao majamaa walikuwa karibu wanapigana huko, akawaambia hiyo pesa itawaletea cancer. It is in public knowledge that these people wametembea hapo wakikula pesa, lakini tunawaachia Wakenya.
So this gentleman here, let me just get his name right if I can. What's his name? Crap, I forgot his name. Kwamboka or something like that. But anyway, the point he was making is the guy who brought this motion to remove Linturi. And the point he was making is this. The point he was making was majority of the MPs voted to remove Mithika Linturi. Okay? But after this committee was formed, the committee of 11, majority being the Kenya Kwanza people, there is an allegation that some of them, majority of these members in this committee that was supposed to dig into this matter, were paid 5 million each, including one of the representatives that you saw was standing with the gentleman there. And that's why Linturi was let off the hook. This screams a larger problem. That's what I'm saying. This administration basically has reached a point where, just like the one before it, the Uhuru Kenyatta regime, they don't care. They're going to rule unopposed. I mean, you already know they are already doing that. We're not counting on Azimio. Azimio is a bunch of idiots. They are pretending to be standing with the people, but all they want is piece of the piece of the pie, the piece of the loot, to be exact. Okay? So that's why I'm saying we have two options to remove these people. And it is up to Kenyans now to decide how they are going to remove them, because you are not going to remove Ruto through democratic means. You are not. And if you ask me why, I'll tell you why. Because number one, there's a good proportion or portion of the population that believes that Ruto stooge in the name of Raila Odinga with his psychopathic sycophants, are playing the opposition, and they are going to pretend that they are opposing Ruto. But at the end of the day, they will join Ruto and they will make Ruto the president after they get paid. Just do the math. If the governor, the corrupt, incompetent, unqualified, the lobotomized parrot, Sakaja, can bribe the leader of the opposition, Raila Odinga, 200 million for him not to get impeached, do you still have faith that this man, whether he stands in 2007, can remove Ruto? we already know that he got paid in 2017 by Uhuru Kenyatta for him to stop fighting for the electoral justice. Do you still have faith in Azimio? Kalonzo Musyoka, who was heading the NADCO proposal talks, he had something to say today, saying that we are the opposition and all this nonsense. That's why I'm saying the only remedy to the Kenyans' problem is a popular revolution or a military coup d'etat. Because we do not have an opposition and we do not have a government. I'll play you this Kalonzo Musyoka person. Let's listen to some arguments by some of these idiots that were making in the house, on the floor. Are you ready? I'll play you some of the arguments so you can get tickled by the kind of response these idiots were making. I'll play it to you. Give me a second. I'll have to find it first. This is unacceptable. I can't even find it. Let me just hold on one second, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades. Are you ready? Like the video. Like the video, ladies and gentlemen. Like the video as we continue. Hold on. Now, this is what I wanted to get at today as I go on. Do you remember the last time before we started the NADCO talks at Bomas? What was the situation? What was going on? It was right around the time when there was a huge debate about the finance bill. Okay? Whether it was the affordable housing or the finance bill in its entirety, which was illegally passed because we've gone through this. I'm not going to go through again. The process in which it was passed was illegal. Okay? Now, here we are a year later, and there's a new finance bill. We have the same players on the opposition saying the same things. Today we had this other pinhead, Kalonzo Musyoka, telling us that if they don't change the taxes on this finance bill, they shall go back to maandamano. Does that sound familiar? Yani it's a exact repeat of what happened last time. The last time we was tulikuwa tunakasirikia VAT tax, the 16% that was brought back to 8%. We were not happy about the housing levy portion of it. Okay? And so forth, so forth. Now it is about the taxes that they want to impose on us, on house items, food like bread, and so forth, so forth. The script seems to be the same. It is that time where we are told there's a new finance bill. Of course, every year they have to have a finance bill, yes. But this Azimio and Kenya Kwanza waited until it's that time to pass the new finance bill, scripted this script again, where they shall propose this finance bill. The so-called fake opposition will act like they are outraged about what's in it, and they shall use it as a reason to go to the street in order to implement the unconstitutional NADCO report. I'll tell you why. Listen keenly to what the players, these fakers, these charlatans, how they operate. They're all in it both Ruto, Raila, Kalonzo, Orengo, and all these rotten shitheads that are looting this country dry. Let me start with Orengo. I'll tell you why you heard what Kalonzo said, what he said today. That pie-shaped head. Let me play you. Well, let me start with Nani. Orengo. Orengo said something that. Let me just start with Orengo. Are you ready? Remember, I asked you guys in the last live. I asked you, whatever happened to reconstituting the IEBC? Because as of right now, if you were to lose your members of parliament or a senator or a governor, any representative, there shall be we cannot have an election because we don't have an IEBC. These both parties, the ruling party and the opposition, are conveniently waiting for the NADCO, because NADCO, in this NADCO report, it is proposing the addition of extra IEBC commissioners. They don't want to follow the constitution as it says, because the president is supposed to go ahead with the process of choosing a panel, select panel that will go ahead with the process of choosing the next IEBC. But they halted the process for this NADCO nonsense, which they have already come up with, they both agreed on, and they're just waiting for the political temperature. They're manufacturing this crisis. You heard Kalonzo started with these doctors when he was saying, if the doctors, they don't reach an agreement with the doctors, they shall join them in Mandamano. Then the doctors reached an agreement with the government and they went back. They went back to work. And now it is that time again where we are supposed to have another finance bill for 2024-2025 fiscal year. And yes, there are some things that we don't agree upon again. Obviously, Ruto and his psychopathic cabinet ministers and his advisors, IMF and World Bank, are imposing new taxes on Kenyans. Now, the opposition are pretending to be against it because they want to use that. And they had agreed again. They have agreed with the government. The government knows this. They want to use these taxes that the Wananchi are pushing against to use it as an opportunity to go to the streets and create carnage in order to destabilize the peace in the country so that they can usher in this unconstitutional NADCO report. Listen to Orengo. He said this over this weekend. I'll play you the clip very quickly because these demonic people have started showing their faces again. Let me play it again. Listen to me carefully. Here is this idiot, James Orengo.
Document between Azimio.
Hold on.
In Parliament, we saw an attempt to try and play around with an agreed document between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. And this was the NADCO agreement, which...
Before he even finishes, I'm glad he said this was an agreement between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. This is not agreement by the Kenyan people. This was an agreement between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza party coalitions. The Kenyan people did not agree on the NADCO report. This two-party coalition went and met at Bomas and came up with this bullshit that they want to shove down the Kenyan people's throats. So it's not a Kenyan proposal. Not all representatives, not all constituencies were consulted before this proposal was made. So you can't meet somewhere in Bomas having spending 100 million taxpayers' money that these Kalonzo and these pinheads were enjoying in an air-conditioned rooms and 4-course meals, then come up to the legislative body and ask them to pass it as law in order to change the constitution. That is not the process of law making, Orengo. I'm glad he clarified and said this was an agreement between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, not the Kenyan people. So right by there, even the judge said this was not anchored in law. Why are you still pushing it through parliament for it to be passed to be law? It is dead on arrival. But see, they're coordinating everything, both on the government side and both on the Azimio side. They're coordinating it to converge into one thing, into one event, into one goal, to bring and usher in this NADCO report. Let me finish up. I won't interrupt you. Let me listen to this drunk who has been stealing money from Siaya County. Let's start.
In Parliament, we saw an attempt to try and play around with an agreed document between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. And this was the NADCO agreement, which was the result of struggle and the leadership of Raila Amolo Odinga. Now, we have seen an attempt to try and play around with that NADCO document. Indeed, we need a proper study.
So it was a struggle of Raila Odinga. It was not a struggle of Kenyans. It was a struggle of Raila Odinga, personal struggle. Shenzi kabisa. Idiot.
Document between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. And this was the NADCO agreement, which was the result of struggle and the leadership of Raila Amolo Odinga. Now, we have seen an attempt to try and play around with that NADCO document. Indeed, we need a proper study of any legislation that will come out of the NADCO process. It has turned out that one of the attempts in that process was to kill Azimio as a coalition. And this was not going to kill Azimio as a leadership, as a party, as a coalition, because Azimio is a political party. It is an attempt to try and destroy the multi-party system that we have in Kenya today. And I've said without fear of contradiction that if you look at the main pillars of our constitution, which includes devolution, a democratic multi-party state, and good governance, you can see there are attempts in all those areas to try and kill devolution, kill multipartyism, and bring an authoritarian leadership. Kenya, if you are not very careful, the way Kenya Kwanza is leading our country, if you are not very careful, we will have a reproduction of the Moi state.
Okay, so let me really help you. Hold on. So basically, this shithead is telling us that all these troubles that we are facing, the lack of good governance by this Kenya Kwanza regime, the economic policies that are not working for Kenya, all these things can be resolved by this NADCO report. A NADCO report that's a result of Raila Odinga's struggle and leadership. This pinhead is telling us this. Okay? So he's lecturing people on good governance. Well, Siaya, we know about Siaya. This man should be in Kodiaga prison, locked up for life with no possibility of parole. And here he is, he's lecturing Kenyans on good governance. Before even we get to Kenya Kwanza's poor governance, Siaya, how is Siaya doing, Mr. Orengo, James Agri Orengo? Tell us how you're spending your money, the interest account that you've been looting. Name the development that you've brought in Siaya County. You dumb fuck. NADCO report is nothing but a proposal that wants to change the constitution to give positions to former leaders, dictators like Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, and there is the rest of these rotten people. And you're telling us that we should pass it. That's why I'm saying Kenya needs a popular revolution, people revolution, or a military coup d'etat. And people like Agri James Orengo should not be spared. They should be tortured to death. People like Lithika Luthuri, whatever the fuck his name is, should be tortured to death. People like Raila Odinga, people like Uhuru Kenyatta, William Samoei Ruto, Murkomen, forget the Geneva Convention. These people should be tortured for the rest of their lives. Because the level of disrespect that they're showing the Kenyan population, people who actually pay taxes, pay their salary, and they're looting that money to spend it on themselves. The contempt in which they treat the Kenyan population. After he said this nonsense, listen to Kalonzo Musyoka, another one that needs to be tortured to death. Listen to Kalonzo Musyoka. I'll play with Kalonzo Musyoka. They're coordinating this because they want to go back to Mandamano so that they can create and kill innocent people so that they can bring this NADCO thing into fruition. Let me play that whatever from Kalonzo Musyoka. We shouldn't be laughing with these people. They are the worst kind of humans on this planet. People are dying in floods, dying of starvation, but they don't care. They care only about their pockets. Their kids going to foreign schools while people are dying of lack of health care and food. But they only care about NADCO so they can have their positions. They can have private jets.
Are affected by the flooding. So, as Mheshimiwa Ojian tried to explain, if this is declared a national disaster, which it is, even if they declare it or not, but the beauty about declaring it a national disaster is it draws partnership response. Our international partners and local partners will all come to help the people. Because look,
the only natural disaster is that Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, Jaguar, and all these idiots that are here in this TV are alive. That's the natural disaster that's happening. The only natural disaster to Kenya is the fact that Kenyatta, Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, Sakaja, Murkomen Lithuri, all these idiots are still alive. That's the natural disaster Kenyans are facing.
look at the families, for example, of the 10 or so people who died in Sultan Ahmed because of that Solen River. They have left behind families, and those families will need a lot of support. Look at the tragedy in Mai Mahiu. The dam, we still suspect there could be people who are still.
Kalonzo Musyoka, you are paid 100 million to sit on that bombers to create this NADCO report. Why can't you use that 100 million that you got to help those people in Mayu, I don't know what, if you really care about them?
Covered under the mud and whatever. And so as our defense forces and others try to work, because it's the time the country really should be seen to work together, this effort will be made easy if it is declared a national disaster. We don't know why they are prevaricating, where they are hawajui, hawataki, hawajui. We don't understand. And so that's number one. Number two, tumesikia vile wengine wamejibu Raila. Jana Mukuru aliongea kama kiongozi wa Azimio. Raila anatafuta kiti cha wanachama wa AU, African Union Commission. Na sijui kama wenzetu hawa walikuwa kidhani they can compromise Raila Odinga. That because it's a national thing, a matter of national pride, that if he is going to enjoy the support of the state, which is important, right, that he should be meant to remain silent and mum. Now we want to remind them Raila Odinga remains the leader of Azimio la Umoja until he gets the chairmanship of AU. When that happens, then we'll have our own succession ideas, succession lineup. Already we have matters in Parliament, National Dialogue report, which is receiving parliamentary attention. The important matter of IEBC, that is ongoing, and we gave that priority. But we wanted to take this opportunity to say, Kenya kwanza, musije munarukia Raila kwa kuongea ukweli. Ukweli wa mambo ni kwamba huwezi.
He's talking about Raila Odinga cannot be compromised by the new. But if, again, I pose this question, it's a simple question. If Raila can be compromised by Sakaja, this semi-literate governor of Nairobi with 200 million, unafikiri Ruto atashindwa?
Huwezi kumnyamazisha kiongozi wa taifa kama Raila Odinga. Kwa hivyo akiongea muwe na tabia ya uvumilivu. Hata rais wenu mwenyewe amesema he doesn't mind criticism. Kwa nini mnaruka kila mahali mkisikia akiongea? So I think that is the only clarification we may want to make, but my brother here can add.
Nafikiri tukiwa Pwani leo tunataka pia tuhimize ya kwamba kile kibunga cha Hidaya kinakaribia. Tumeelezwa ya kwamba kinaingia kule pwani ya Tanzania, kutoka kule kitaelekea Zanzibari na kuelekea Mombasa. Kwa hivyo wapwani popote mlipo, tuwataka ya kwamba mkisikia mashauri ya serikali kuu na serikali ya kaunti. Jana tumemsikia gavana Isa Timami na county commissioner wakisema watu wasiende kwenye beach, kae manyumbani ama mbali, wengi wakiathirika hapa na azimio.
Anyway, Sema Beast Mode, nice seeing you. .connect. Karibu Beast Mode. I'm even lost for words today. The point I'm trying to drive home is this. It is not a coincidence that Orengo came out to remind us that there's a NADCO report that needs to be implemented through the parliament to make law. Okay? And after his reminder, Kalonzo pops out the next day or the same day and tells us that if the taxes, the new proposed taxes in the new 2024-2025 finance bill is not fixed, they will go back to Mandamano. And I asked the question. I tried to connect the dots, as Mr. Bismod rightfully put it. It was right around this very same time when Ruto came out with the finance bill, and the Azimio people, of course, they rejected it because most Kenyans rejected it. So walidandia yo story. And they went to Mandamano in the name of lowering the cost of living. So mnakumbuka, it was right after the finance bill ilipitishwa. Then Azimio, they acted like they were so outraged by the finance bill and that they wanted to force the government to lower the cost of living. And so they went to protest in the streets. And what was the result of that? The result was they sat down. Raila came up with this, was promised to go to AU, and they agreed to pass this NADCO report, this unconstitutional NADCO report that already the High Court had already declared to be not be anchored in law. So fast forward 1 year after that, here we are again. It is time for a new finance bill for the next fiscal year. There's complaints about the taxes that are being proposed in this finance bill. Here it is, Azimio coming again to jump on the issue. And they're saying, whoa, those taxes on bread, taxes on sijui nini that we already seen, we want them to be brought down. And if they're not, we are going back to the streets. And it so happened that at the very point that they are saying that, Orengo is reminding us, the Kenyan population and the legislative body, which is toothless, that there's a NADCO report in place between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza that needs to be implemented, passed as law of the land. Okay? You see the connection? This time they're not, Azimio, if they really cared about the cost of living, they should still be in the streets. I'm a cost of living ilienda chini. Maybe I'm missing something. Electoral justice. Was the server open? Whatever happened to these things? Were these things taken care of? No, they were not. Now we switch gears. Sasa ni AU and Raila sijui nini Raila. So Raila was just barking in that balcony just to show people that he can still criticize the president. And that is not ati hajanunuliwa. And we both know kama nani anamnunua hapa, Sakaja amemnunua, sembuse William Ruto. So you see the pattern. They're using right about now when everyone is discussing this finance bill and what they don't want, the new taxes that are being proposed. Issue, and they want to use that issue to be the issue that they go to the streets for, the reason to go to the streets, to cause carnage, so that waanze kusema, okay, in order for us to have peace, let's pass this NADCO report, which we already have it in parliament, that needs to be implemented, which is unconstitutional, by the way. But they want to pass it so they can create positions, because they know 2027 is tricky. All of these political busybodies are rejected. No one in his right mind will vote for Ruto. No one is in his right mind will vote for Raila as the viable option. No one in his right mind will vote for Kalonzo Musyoka as a viable option. These people are all rotten. So the only way they can actually get some votes is to create a coalition. But they won't create a coalition because the central people will not be happy to be in a coalition with Nyanza people, and the Nyanza people being a coalition with Rift Valley. So the only way they can do it is to use this NADCO document report, which basically is a coalition government. You see, they want to make it law in order for them to have a legal space so they can enjoy the loot of the country, the taxes that they ask us to pay. They're asking us to pay taxes on a finger, the middle class, while we don't see any services rendered by the government. Instead, the Oscar Sudis, what's that kissy lady who was bragging about buying a new Range Rover, and she couldn't even answer? Her salary is not enough for her to buy that kind of car. Oscar Sudi anajigamba with a watch worth 9 million, while they are victims of floods who are homeless right now, who can't find shelter, while these people are flying in private jets, giggling, trying to change the constitution so that they can occupy offices and enjoy taxpayers' money. Goodyear is telling me, knew from the word go that Raila was not going anywhere. Ruto was planning something big for Raila. Compromising with BBI, NADCO, and micro handshakes. Kenya politics is a laugh with first-class comedy. Yes. Hii ni mchezo. And it's sad because the joke is on us, we the wananchi. Somebody asked after seeing this new finance bill, what will it take for Kenyans? Wakasirike. How do they don't care anymore? I mean, Linturi, who's supposed to be in jail, let alone being impeached, I may survive. This is serious. That's why I'm saying all these political elitists, they cannot be removed democratically. I know some people might sit here and say, oh, I'm happy Ruto won, or I'm happy Kenyatta was president, I'm happy Sijui Kibaki was president. Uhuru Kenyatta handed Ruto the presidency for him to continue with the same colonialist agenda. They let them loot, raise high taxes, take their land, their property, and control their economy. That's how you colonize them. That's why we have this stringent, demonic, devilish tax proposals that this Kenya Kwanza are proposing for us. And instead of the opposition to oppose these taxes, the opposition remedy is to what? Create what? Agree on joining the government. I mean, technically they are in the government. What I mean is for them to have positions, official positions, for them also to have an opportunity to loot just as the people who are in government are looting. You don't need to tax Kenyans more. You simply need to go arrest the Kenyatta family, arrest the Moi family, arrest the Kibaki family, arrest the Raila family, take their ninio. Mali yao is enough to pay off our debt and finance any project that the government wants to put in. And cut every MP, governor, MCA's salary by 60%. And anyone who's found guilty of graft should face death penalty. No negotiation. Once you're sentenced and you're found guilty, that's it. You have to die. But until we are outraged, hakuna kitu tafanyika. They're getting away with it. Lenturi, whatever his name, the CS of Agriculture. Him surviving that impeachment is an affront to Kenyan patriots. We should be out in the streets rioting, demanding the dismantlement of this government administration, starting for Ruto down to his driver, his cabinet ministers and everyone else. Same thing with the legislative body. I'm not going to yell anymore. I'm so upset. All I can ask for you guys is to like this video. It's been 52 minutes. I cannot go any longer. Hata kichwa inaniuma. Just do me a favor. Like the video. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Share. Comment. I will leave it at this. All I can say is this. The only solution at this point for Kenya is to have a people's popular revolutionary movement or a military coup d'etat to forcefully remove not only Ruto, but everyone in this political class. Everyone. Let's start anew, fresh, with the new people. Everyone who has held government office should not be allowed back. Everyone. Goody is saying in Kenya, the rich never guilty because they buy their way out. Absolutely. It's a corrupt system. I think the first, my friend CW Ndungu was telling me, I think the first priority of the Ruto government is not to upset the larger communities by impeaching their person. But I believe that in the second term, he will deal with it. I'll come back to that comment. That's interesting. All the Lenturi, Oscar Sudi, Sakaja will be gone. Kenya Rebel, you're not yourself today. Sorry about what I've done. Yes. So Ndungu is telling me that maybe he doesn't want to upset the larger communities. He's waiting for his second term so that he can start taking care of these people. If he deal with it now, he'll lose votes, I believe. I see where you're coming from. I see it. But the thing is this. In Kenya, especially if you're in power, it's very hard to be removed democratically. Moi ruled us for 24 years. It took 24 years for Kenyans to be like, you know what? Enough is enough. Enough is enough. To remove him. Okay? It never took us that long when Kibaki started messing up. Kibaki started well. Kibaki started well, but he turned on everyone. And the Kenyan people removed him. But he was being backed by the British and Americans. So he stayed. Uhuru Kenyatta, the same thing. Okay? But what I'm trying to say is this, CW Ndugu. I see where you're coming from. I think your argument is that he doesn't want to rattle or ruffle feathers. Because I saw the video when Linturi was facing the impeachment when it was voted, when the MPs, whatever, voted him to be impeached. There were some people who started coming out and saying, hey, our people, we're targeting our people, you're targeting the same nonsense that we always see. So I see where you're coming from. But I think of it like this. If you do the right thing, if you truly fight corruption, you will win majority of the people's votes. People will rally around you. If you do something right, people will be happy with you. Ruto akikata hizi, do away with this all taxes mingi ambayo analeta, and it starts actually going for the easy report ambayo EACC wanamletea about the corrupt leaders, governors, MPs, and all this, and prosecuting them. I think he will win more support than just people who are being used to go out there and try to portray that, they're being targeted because a certain leader is found to be corrupt. I mean, everybody knows Linturi was, people know he's corrupt. But of course, Linturi will pay people to go and say, hey, you are targeting our people. You saw that when we were doing the Oparanya. Same thing with Matiangi. It's always like that. Oh, our people, our people. But I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. I know what you're saying. The only thing is like, okay, so let's say if he wins the second term, why would he care? Why would he start taking, even his people, his own people, akina Murkomen, akina Oscar Sudi, where are they getting this money? Why is he not prosecuting them? Is it for the same reason? So what I'm saying is this. I don't think that's a matter of him being scared of the backlash that he will face from certain communities if he goes after certain leaders, so-called perceived tribal leaders. Okay? I think if he does this right thing and does it uniformly without discrimination, he will earn the support of the majority of Kenyans. That's how I see it. But you might be right. It's not me being right and you being wrong. I think you have a good point there. It's a good point. It might be true. Maybe he's hesitant because he doesn't want to lose that. Yes. So that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Ndumu, that's a fair point. The larger communities, it's always the ruling president's tribe at the time. Yeah. So most likely Murkomen will rebel. Yeah, probably. So yeah, I see your point. It's a good point, and I think it plays a part too. But let me just give you an example of when Uhuru Kenyatta was the president. He didn't care much about who he was going for. If you are his political enemy, he went after people, even Kalenjins. Remember when Oscar Sudi made some comments about his mom, about that matiti, kila mama kuna matiti or something like that. He went after Sudi. And Sudi alilala kwa cell for a night or two, whatever, something in Nakuru. He didn't care about the Kalenjin vote or anything or whatever. So what I'm saying is that, you know, if Ruto really wants to do the right thing, he can do it. It's just, you know, people are saying that he might be behind this whole saga. So that's part of it. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, brothers, sisters, friends, and comrades, it's been 1 hour. Thank you so much for joining me for today. Thank you, CW Ndungu, Gudi Asante. Who else was there? Beast Mode Reloaded, Pia Asante, nilikuwa na hapo. Yaya 2K, thank you very much for joining me. I'll leave it here. It's been an hour. Make sure you like before you leave out here. Like the video, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you're going to watch this and repeat, do the same. The first order of business is what? Like, and if you have to subscribe, put it on notification so when I come in, you can see me. Okay? And I will see you guys. Goody is saying Ruto will never agitate Raila and Uhuru. These guys have known each other for a long time. That is true. Yeah. So anyways, guys, thank you so much. I have to leave it here. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next time, probably tomorrow or maybe later on. Like video, just like Nani amesema hapo. Please like the video, share, and subscribe. Peace. Thank you so much, Goody. Thank you so much, CS Ndumu. Thank you so much, Y2. Y2K or something like that. And Beast Mode. I'll see you guys later. Peace and blessings.